then becomes manifest in the fourth post-Atlantean, which would be Greek and Roman times. And you can see this movement westward. And now we're in this fifth period. And this fifth period is essentially the new period, but also the period in which we meet evil. 5 is that number that is, as a period when we meet evil. So there's a reason for that. It is our development of freedom. We have been developing an intelligence, and it's become an individual and not a group intelligence since about the 2nd century, and materialism came into that so that we could step away from the spiritual world and find our own self and to be our own self. And that really began around the 15th century and has developed more and more into our time. So we are now at that period in evolution of having come all the way down. Now we can begin to ascend. And this is why Steiner gave Eurythmy, as you probably know, Theodore, is to help us start developing a consciousness that can embrace more than just what the physical senses are giving us, more than what just the physical world tells us, but that we can now begin to see that within physical substance, our organisms, there is life. What is this life? And in ancient India, they called it prana. In Chinese, they called it chi. There's different names, and they do mean slightly different things, but here in anthroposophy, we have used the term the etheric to mean that. And so it's becoming aware of this etheric world. And what, if you remember in Greek times, they had the 4 elements: earth, water, air, fire, and the quintessence was just all the ethers. And Steiner's helped to elaborate that those are 4 ethers: the warmth, the air, the chemical, and the life ether. So becoming aware of that is what our task in our time is to do for advancement. So if I might add, if this is the physical plane and here is the etheric, there's something below it. And that is something that we will naturally slide into because we, in this further redemption of Ahriman, we have to enter Ahriman's realm, where electricity, magnetism, and the third force, which are reflections of the light ether, the chemical ether, and the light ethers, are reflected there. So we have supernature, nature, and a subnature, or we could call it superphysical, the physical, and subphysical. And so there's forces and there are beings on all 3 of those levels. And so down below, we're finding these Ahrimanic, then we have the nature beings, and in the etheric realm, we made that luciferic, which means the light bearer. So that's a lot. I know this is a lot of deep dive into anthroposophy. I hope I haven't lost some of your audience.
But you say somehow.
We start loosening this etheric body. So we can say that until our times, this etheric body, which in very ancient times was quite loose from the physical body, has had to come all the way down to fully embrace our physical body. And bring all those life forces, and it carries the blueprint of what the body's going to look like in all its form. And so it's completely gone into that physical body, but now it needs to start loosening for a consciousness to loosen away from only being aware of the physical. And by loosening it, will become aware of the etheric realm, or the realm of the living. So it will see in a plant, for example, it will see not this moment of the plant, but it can see from seed to flower to seed again. It can see that whole picture of what a plant is.
Yeah, so somebody say if you have things which are close together, you don't have any distance, you cannot look at it.
Right.
And somehow you must take it apart a little bit, that a sort of understanding can come about, and that needs a loose relationship somehow.
Yes.
That you can enter it with consciousness, and not just function.
And we need to enter it with a consciousness to start developing a spiritual science based on knowledge. And there's this whole field of near-death experiences, which I'll mention here. When a person has had one of these, they experience something that Steiner was describing, that everyone experiences right at the moment of death and for some period of time afterwards. They experience their whole life as a panorama. They can see, looking to their birth all the way to their death. It's all laid out there. It's not like a movie where you're seeing only this frame and then the next frames are hidden. It's all laid out in a panorama. And so you can see that the dimensionality, if you will, of the pictures has changed. It's not three-dimensional in the same way anymore. But that's another avenue. We won't go down there. But this seeing of this panorama is part of seeing into this etheric realm. It's something that happens to people when they are suddenly awakened to the etheric realm.
That all things are already present. So it's a huge step, but maybe not so alien as it sounds like, because sometimes memories come back. I can have flashbacks unknowingly, yeah?
You mentioned already about the future of the physical body, and one of the things that Steiner points out is that there is a time when the physical body existence for us must come to an end. And Steiner actually gave a date around 5700. That's not so far away. How many incarnations will you have before that happens, when birthing will end? No, I want this physical world to go on as I know it. As I know it. As I know it. That means evolution has to come to a stop if it's going to go on as I know it. We're comfortable in the life and the lifestyle we have, that we also don't want it to change, because it means evolution means work. Now it's inner work. Once it was outer work, and now it's inner work.
No physical body, no procreation. It's a little bit like dying. It's a little bit like dying, what you describe, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And if you know what initiation used to be like before the time of Christ, a person was put into a death-like state for 3.5 days, and their etheric body then loosened from the physical. In our times, this is happening naturally. People are naturally having their etheric bodies loosening. So there's going to be a long period of time, a couple thousand years, where people will begin to experience, I not only have a physical body, I have this life body. And doing Eurythmy helps us become aware of that. helps us become aware I have an etheric body. And so that will help make this transition easier that, oh, here I am in my etheric body and it's vibrating and I can live perfectly well in that body. I don't absolutely need this physical body anymore. I can interact and network with all my loved ones just as well as I did in the physical body. Well, just as well might be too strong a word, but it will be a different. And in some respects, people will say, I prefer the etheric interaction to the physical. That the physical has a certain unreality, whereas in the etheric, you will no longer be able to spoof another person about your emotions. They will be visible. Your morality will become visible in that etheric body that loosens, and so it becomes something people experience. But how can you experience it?
So what I understand now from you is, the concept, oh, I won't have a physical body anymore, I'm not living in a physical body anymore, it's not, I won't have a body anymore, but I will have a body. But the body will feel differently, and it will have a different attitude towards the physical than I have now. Yeah.
Men of the 1940s, they loved their car. They would take wonderful care. They would wash it and polish it. And the car, I'm going to liken the automobile that we get in of and get out of to our future relationship when our etheric body becomes or feels more like our body, then our physical body will have this kind of relationship. It'll be something we get into and get out of. There will no longer be birth or death. I'm not quite sure about sleeping and dreaming and waking. I think even those will change in that future time. But it's all part of the iron necessity of evolution.
Yeah, I mean, in Eurythmy we start playing with it. So when I can just hold my arm, and I know you can't see it so well, but and I can decide when I let my arm fall, when I let it go, the arm falls down. And then I'm in the physical world. But I can also somehow stretch out my arm, and then I let go, and it has the feeling, it goes away. And that's somehow the game of the physical and the etheric, heaven and earth, that in the physical things fall down, and in the etheric things fall upwards. And it's the feeling of just let go and it falls upwards, and it's just you feel your body a little bit, and it happens this way and it happens that way. So the words are, when we know these words already, and then we start to practice letting go, and suddenly things go easier than if I try to push it. I'm already working with these words. I'm already in these words, and I only have to understand that's a body. That's a little bit what I hear from you. Does it make sense what I say?
Yes, that's very true. And I think these things, like eurythmy, and there will be more. And in fact, eurythmy is sort of the birth child of the various developments that enable us to become more and more conscious in our etheric body. The Steiner always called the physical quality, the physical world that we see, as a kind of Maya. It's a kind of illusion, because we don't see the spiritual world when we're seeing through the physical senses. And we can have illusions, and these beings, Lucifer and Ahriman, love to work into these illusions. So we can't find real truth in the physical. We can get pointed to the truth, but we find truth when we look in the etheric. And when we direct our attention to that item, our etheric light is streaming out and embracing that object that we're looking at. And then that object, and this is Goethean observation, when we embrace that object with our attention, then that object can reveal to us what it is, what its inner qualities, its inner being are. And this is what Goethe spoke about, and why it's kind of an important new field of scientific method, is to not let these concepts that we already have steer our observation and cause us to go, oh, I know what that is, on to the next one. But that we stay with it longer. And we've talked about seeing the whole plant from seed through its whole growth to flower, back to seed again. And seeing that whole cycle in a picture like the panorama picture of at the end of our lives.
The physical body falling away does only mean we become aware of our true body, the etheric body. We have it already, and we can perceive it better because it loosens up. This I have understood, yeah?
Yes.
And the world changes.
Yes,
and what do we do with what we,
Well, so
what can we look forward to?
A couple pictures of the future. We are, right now, our evolution is at a point where the ascent, this loosening of the etheric has begun. And we are at a time where something called the reappearance of Christ in the etheric, just as the Christ appeared in the physical before. Evolution is moving on, and Christ is showing us the way. He is, you might call it, at the gates of the etheric, and saying, come here. And he'll be there, as Reiner pointed out, for about 3,000 years, at the close of which the Maitreya, the being that is currently at a bodhisattva level, will achieve Buddhahood and become the Maitreya Buddha, will bring about for humanity this awareness of ascension. And ascension then will begin about the middle of the sixth post-Atlantean cultural age. So that's just before the year 5000 and goes up to about the year 6000. I'm using rough dates here. And it's called the era of Philadelphia, of brotherly love, when that will be developed. The old will go away, but we reincarnate. We have an evolution in the future. And so we will be participating in that sixth epoch, and then after that a seventh epoch, which will again be different than the sixth. And when one ascends into their etheric body and lets go of the physical, then you will be more endowed, because you will not be spatially restricted.
Penelope Lane, hello Penelope, writes, she has a confusion about the concept of the physical body, yeah? This body we call physical body today is the fallen body, the body of flesh. The true physical body is the resurrection body in which Christ appeared after Golgotha. Right.
So Penelope, thank you. That it's helpful for people to get a picture of this. That physical body throughout all of that evolution is what becomes the resurrection body. Higher beings in the hierarchy of angels, archangels, and archai, the archai are already accomplishing that without a physical body, because at their level, they incorporate the physical earth and so on as a kind of body. It's hard to describe, but they're not spatially needing a physicalness, but they are able to be working through this equivalent of the resurrection body for them. Theodore.
Oh, what a picture, Andrew.
I tell people all the time that Eurythmy was this kind of gift from Rudolf Steiner to all of us to help us start developing this awareness of the etheric realm, of this loosening of the etheric body. And so it is essentially the path or the first step on the path. We will see what's developed. I think it is the path, and that further things will be developed, but it'll still be on this path to life in the etheric realm. And so it's leading us there.
Eurythmy to the people, we just say Eurythmy is nothing special, you just consist of Eurythmy. Huh? So how we said we have the etheric body already available, we just must become aware of it. And people can notice they become healthier from it, they feel better. And I'm convinced that this is coming. I am aware that not only Eurythmists are working on opening up the etheric realm, but all climbers, all breakdancers, are working on it. The morality.
It took the kids away from this macho kind of way of being to a different way of being in your body.
Thank you, Andrew. It's a collaboration. We are a family, and detecting and helping each other to make steps forwards to what, in a way, lives in us. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye to everyone, and thank you for your attention and time. Bye now.